Hello, welcome back. So now in this part, we will start our design problem. We will solve we will design the timber beam by using the criteria that we have discussed in the previous parts. So we have this problem. So in this problem, there is a roof of a room having a clear dimension of 4.2 by 11.7 meter, and this roof is supported on two timber beams which are equally spaced, and the wall thickness for this roof is 30 centimeters. So obviously roof is resting on the wall uh, from its all four sides, and in the interior side it is supported with the two beams which are equally spaced, and the roof covering is having the weight of 2.5 kilonewton per meter square, and the live load is 1.5 kilonewton per meter square. So we have to design a beam using the salwood. So this is the description of our problem. There is a roof of a room, and the size of the room is also provided, and this roof is supported on two beams along with the wall, and the thickness of wall is 30 centimeter, and on the roof it is having some roof covering. So the weight of roof covering is 2.5 kilonewton per meter square, and the live load which it is supporting is 1.5 kilonewton per meter square. And the timber beam, in the timber beam we are going to use salwood. So sal tree wood we are going to use in this. So before we start the problem, first we will see the steps we are going to follow to solve this problem. So these steps I will be showing you with the help of this flow chart. So our first step would be to draw a plan of room, and we have to mark the beam center to center line. So for example, in our case, the size of room is 4.2 meter by 11.7 meter. So for example, this is the interior dimension of the room. So for example, this is 11.7 meter, and this dimension is 4.2 meter. And also the as it is supporting from all four sides on the wall, so walls will be like this, and the thickness of wall is also given, which is 300 mm. Now here we also are supposed to mark the beam center. Now we have to see whether we have to mark beam along the longer side or along the shorter side. So basically the main beams of the room will be passing along the shorter side. So therefore we are assuming that these are the main beams which will be passing through the uh, shorter side, and also the space between these two beams, they are equally spaced. So the spacing is also given, which is 4 meter, and the total length, if I try to draw the center to center line, and similarly here also the center to center dimension, so this will become 11.7 plus half of the thickness of this wall and half of the thickness of this wall, so it becomes zero point 0.3 meter. So ultimately it becomes 12 meter. So therefore if this is 4 meter, this will be 4 meter, and this will also be 4 meters. So this is how we can justify that the beams are equally spaced with each other. So that is our first step that we are going to follow here. Now then we have to see, we have to go to the next step, and the next step is work out the area of roof. So in this case, we have to work out the area of roof floor supported by 1 meter length of the beam. So for example, we will assume that these two beams are identical because they are equally spaced, so they will be carrying the equal load also. So here we have to see how much a beam will be taking the load. So for example, these beams are running like this, and the whole roof weight, how they will be distributed over the beam. So here we can again make a judgment that if we consider this 4 meter space, then we will assume that half of this space will be carried by this beam, and half of the space will be supporting on this wall. Similarly, if we go to the next 4 meter space, in this case also we will assume that half space will be taken by this beam and half space will be taken by this beam. Similarly, the remaining 4 meter space, the same way. Okay, so these two beams are identical. So if we design one beam, other beam will be designed automatically. So here, ultimately, the load carried by the beam, how much part of the slab will be carried by this beam will be this one. So this much part of the slab will be carried by this beam. Now here we have to see how much load is carried by a beam per meter length, because now you can see the whole length of slab is resting on the beam. So this weight of slab can be considered as the UDL. So basically now we have to find out how much load will this beam will be carrying per meter length. So if I try to make the line diagram of this beam, so here I will assume that this is the beam resting on the supports. Now these supports are basically the ends of the wall where it is resting, and it is supporting the UDL in the form of roof weight. Here we have to find out how much weight it is carrying at 1 meter length. In this case also we can see that length of beam will be measured from center to center of the wall. So this length of length of beam is 4.2 meter plus half of the thickness of this wall and half of the thickness of this wall. So it becomes 0.3 meter. So that means the effective span or the length of beam here becomes 4.5 meters. So basically this becomes the 4.5 meter. So this is how we can uh, generalize this beam. Now, per meter length, how much load is it carrying? So as we can see that this whole part is supporting on the whole beam. So 1 meter length of the beam, something it will be marked here. Then 2 meter length will be marked here, 3 meter, 4 meter, and 4.5 meter. So 1 meter mark is there. So it means over 1 meter length of the beam, this much part of the roof is supporting, which means this much part of the roof is supporting on 1 meter length of the beam. So it means we have to find out the load on 1 meter length. So basically, how much area is this? So this will be, say, 1 meter, and half is this and half is this. So this length, what is this length? So this length will be 2 meter plus 2 meter. So this becomes 4 meter. So ultimately, on 1 meter length of the beam, the area supported, area of roof supported on the beam will be 1 into 4, which means 4 meter square. So 4 meter square area of the roof is supported on 1 meter length of the beam. So now we have to find out the load on this area only. To calculate the UDL, we actually need to find out load on this area only, sorry. Sorry. So that is our second step, in which we have to work out the area which is supporting on the beam. Then next is we have to work out the effective span of the beam. So effective span becomes this one, center to center of the supports. So this becomes 4.5 meter. And also we need to calculate the UDL. UDL, now in the form of UDL, what is the load? So UDL will consist here in the form of dead load and live load. So dead load will be say the self weight of beam, and also the uh, the dead load will be also the roof covering. I mean the covering which is, I mean the material which is covering the roof. So that roof covering will come under the domain of dead load because it is a permanent load. And also the live load is already given in our problem, which is 1.5 kilonewton per meter square. So all these things are already given in our problem. So with the help of that, we can calculate the UDL. And self weight of beam, as we don't know the dimensions of the beam, so we can assume the self weight of beam, which is around 0.5 kilonewton. So that is our third step. Then in the fourth step, once we get the load, we will then find out the maximum bending moment. And after that, once we calculate the bending moment, then we will try to estimate the size of beam, which will be suitable to carry this much bending moment. So the size of beam will be calculated uh, by using the formula like K naught into Z into FB. So using this formula, we will try to estimate the size of beam. And once we estimate the size of beam, then we will find out the uh, actual value of Z. We will also find out the actual value of form factor, because initially in this step, we will assume the value of K naught and we will assume the size of beam. And once we fix the size of beam, then we will calculate the actual value of Z and actual value of form factor, and then we will calculate the actual bending stress. So for our beam to be safe in bending moment criteria, this actual bending stress should be less than the value of FB, which is the permissible stress. After that, we will check our beam's dimensions for the next criteria, which is the shear stress criteria. So in this case also, we will first find out the actual shear stress, and we will compare that actual shear stress with the permissible shear stress, which is given in the uh, table. I will show you that table. And after that, we will have the check, which is check for deflection. So we will check our beam size for the deflection criteria also. And if our beam is passed in the deflection, then we will check uh, our beam for the bearing stress criteria. So in case by chance, if our beam dimensions or if our beam is not satisfying any of the condition, in that case, what we will do is we will revise the size of beam and then again follow or again check the beam dimension for these four criteria, which is one is the bending moment criteria, second is the shear stress, third is the deflection, and fourth is the bearing stress. So that is the process that we are going to follow in our uh, design. So now starting our problem. So now here also in the question, it is not mentioned that beams are either it is of outside location or inside location or wet location. So here, because you can see that beams are like this, so we will assume that these beams are the interior beam, and therefore the location of timber of this beam is considered as the inside location. So this inside location will be used when we will be trying to find out the value of permissible stresses. So here we will assume that our beam will be designed for the inside location. So here, so this is our first two steps in which we have to first make the plan of the build of the room, and then we have to mark the beams. So here this is a beam 2, this is beam 1. So both beam 1 and 2 are identical, so therefore we will be designing only one beam. And the load dispersion, and this is the area, this is the shaded area which is supported by 1 meter length of the beam, which I have just explained in the previous slide. So here, then our next step is to find out the effective span. Effective span is 4200 plus half of this support and half of this support. So that becomes the effective span. So effective span becomes 4.5 meter. Then we will now calculate the UDL. So UDL will be load per meter length of the beam, which means the load coming only on this shaded area will be calculated. So in this, our first load, first we will calculate the dead load. And in dead load, we have two types of load. One is the self weight of beam, and second is the roof covering material. So roof covering is given. So roof covering is given in the question as 2.5 kilonewton per meter square, which means on 1 meter square area, the weight of roof covering is 2.5 kilonewton. But we have the area. How much area we have? We have 1 into this 4 meter. So this shaded area is basically 1 into 4 meters. So basically we have 4 meter square area coming on the 1 meter length of the beam. So total weight of roof covering on this 4 meter square area, it will be 4 into 2.5. So that becomes 4 into 1. This is the area, this shaded area multiplied by the intensity of roof covering load, which is 2.5. So multiplying this, we get the roof covering load as 10 kilonewton. So it means on 1 meter length of the beam, the UDL value is 10 kilonewton for the roof covering. Now, beside this, we also need to find out the self weight of beam, but right now we don't know the dimensions of the beam. So calculation of self weight of beam is not possible. So here we will assume that the self weight of beam is 0.5 kilonewton. After that, we will calculate the live load. Live load is also given, which is 1.5 kilonewton per meter square. So these two values are already given in the problem. So here also live load is 1.5 kilonewton per meter square, but we have to find out on 4 meter square area. So 1.5 will be multiplied by 4. So that gives us the value of live load in this case. So the total load, now we have to find out how much total load is this. So total load is 16.5 kilonewton per meter. So it means on 1 meter length of the beam, we have 16.5 kilonewton per meter. So ultimately, we can visualize our beam as a simply supported beam carrying UDL, and the weight of UDL is 16.5, which we have just calculated, which is including the dead load and live load coming on the beam. Now, once we get this UDL, once we get this effective span, now we are going to find out the maximum bending moment, and maximum bending moment will occur at the center. So in case of simply supported beam carrying UDL over the whole span, the maximum bending moment will be given by the relation WL square by 8. So in this case, W is the UDL value and L is the effective span. So putting the value, we get the maximum bending moment as 41.77 kilonewton meter. We can also convert this into Newton mm. So if we convert this into Newton mm, so this becomes 41.77 into 10 raised to power 6. So that completes our this step. Now, in this step, now we are going to estimate the size of beam, which means as you can see, this is the line diagram. So ultimately, this beam will be a rectangular beam, and ultimately we need to find out what is the width of beam, what is the depth of beam. So these size is to be estimated, and so in this step we will estimate this. Now we know that for a rectangular timber beam, the moment of resistance can be given by this formula. In this, K naught is the form factor, F is the basically in this case we will consider F as the permissible bending stress and Z as the section modulus. So in this case, right now we don't know what is the K naught, because we know that K naught is dependent on the depth of beam. So for the initial estimation of the beam, we will assume that K naught value is 1. Just it is for the initial estimation. So here we are assuming that K naught is 1. Now also F is the permissible bending stress. So permissible bending stress can be taken from the table. So here we will see the table also. So here I will write F as FB, because FB is represented as permissible bending stress. So FB can be taken from the table. So now I will show you the table. Yes. So this is the table that I have shown you in the previous lecture also. So here we have to find out FB. So FB can be find out from this column, which is FB. So FB for inside location, because our timber beam is for inside location, and also our timber is of salwood. So this is the salwood. So corresponding to this salwood, we have the value of bending stress as 16.48. So from this table, now we know that the value of FB is 16.48 Newton per mm square. So this stress is given in MPa. MPa means megapascal, and megapascal is equivalent to Newton per mm square. So here, putting the value of FB as 16.48, which we have just taken from the table for the salwood. So now we know two parameters. One is K naught. We know the value of F, and we also know the value of M, which is equivalent to bending moment, which we have just calculated in this previous step. So right now we have to find out ZL also. Now Z is basically the section modulus. So if we have this beam, if this is B and this is D, and if this is the neutral axis, so section modulus for this beam will be I by Y. Now maximum section modulus will be given by when it is Y max. So this will be our Y max, and Y max is basically equivalent to D by 2. So this distance will be D by 2, and I value is BDQ by 12 upon Y max, which is D by 2. So solving this, we get Z as BD square by 6. So here you can see that this Z is dependent on the dimension B and D, and B and D are the dimensions. So here we, now ultimately uh, in this case, now if we put these value in this equation, so we have this M value is 41.77 into 10 raised to power 6, and K naught value is 1, FB value is 16.48, and Z is in terms of BD square. Now in this equation, we have two unknowns in the form of B and D. So we cannot solve this equation until we have, until we assume at least one of the dimension in this case. So IS code has given some indication for assuming the value of B and D. So here, uh, as per IS code, the minimum width of beam will be the greater of 50 mm and span by 50. I have discussed about it in the first part of this lecture. So minimum dimension of the beam can be 50 mm or span by 50, whichever is greater. So in this case, 50 mm is direct value. In this case, span is 4500, which is the effective span of beam, and divide by 50. So in that case, it becomes 90 mm. So minimum dimension of the beam, minimum width of beam can be taken as 90 mm. So for to be on the safer side, we will take the higher value of beam. So here we will assume that B as 150 mm. So here, as per IS code recommendations, now we have assumed the value of B in the multiple of 50. So this is actually the least dimension of the beam. Generally, minimum dimension of beam are taken as 150 mm in normal practice. So here we are assuming the minimum dimension of the beam width as 150 mm. So now we got the value of B as 150 mm. So now we can put this B value in this equation. So putting the value of B, we can now calculate the value of D. And this equation gives us the value of D as 318 mm. Now IS code also have given recommendations for D also, and it says that D should be less than or equals to 3 times of B. So 3 times of B is 450 mm. So here you can see the value of D, calculated value of D is 318, which is less than 450. So we can say that this size, as per IS code recommendations regarding the dimensions, it is satisfying the condition. So this value should also be round off to the, it should also be rounded off to the round figure. So we will round off this value again in the multiple of 50. So taking this D value as uh, 350. So we will assume this value as equivalent to 350. So ultimately now we have the size of beam as 150 mm width and 350 mm as the depth. And this is as per the IS code recommendation regarding the size. But whether this size of beam is suitable, whether this size of beam can sustain the bending stress effect or deflection effect or shearing stress effect or bearing stress effect, that we have to check. So now we have the dimension of the beam. Now we will calculate the actual bending stress. So till now we have uh, taken permissible bending stress just to initiate, just to take the initial dimension of the beam. We will now calculate the uh, we will now calculate the actual bending stress, but we will calculate it in the next part. Thank you.